Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome. Hello, Pop. How are you, sir?
Doing all right, bud.
Excellent. Oh man, uh, long 2 weeks. It feels like we haven't done this in a month.
I know it's crazy. It feels like that, but I've
Hey,
got.
Mom.
Good morning. I've got. Haven't got a lot done for the projects we talked about 2 weeks ago because there's some other new projects going on that I can't even really talk about. But I've kind of been like really going strong on them. I did buy myself something yesterday.
Oh,
Pretty pumped up about it.
piece of candy.
Check this out.
Calipres.
Yeah. Now the set that I had was about 20 years old and didn't have this cap on it. So like every time I used it, I had to press down on the battery and try to press the battery and move this back and forth. I was done. I was done. And when I saw it at Harbor Freight, I had to buy I bought one of those newer battery chargers for jump starting a car.
Mm-hmm.
The kind that's just a brick that has a USB port and you can charge it with your USB if you need to. I bought one of those last week. I went and got a door frame and had it in the back of my Acura, and I guess I didn't get the door shut, so it wouldn't start yesterday morning. Battery was dead. It's a brand new battery. But I didn't have a charger that'll do an AGM battery because you gotta watch it so it doesn't overheat the battery. So I thought, I'm gonna get one. And your grandma said, "Well, let's get one of those new fancy ones. That's a brick." Okay. But Harbor Freight had a bit. I think it's still going on, like their parking lot sale, and like all battery chargers and cables were 30% off.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I was able to get a nice, almost $90 charger for 60. So
Nice.
did the rubber latex or non-latex gloves. Morning, Cliff. The nitro gloves were also like $6 a carton. I burned through those pretty fast when I'm 3D printing, so I grabbed a couple of those.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's pretty much. This is honestly my big pickup for the week is the calipers.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good pickup.
That's the reality of the world that I live in. This is my biggest, because I spent last week. Like I've got, like there's a lot of stuff going on for call sign longbow and grindstone toys with Skeletron. If you see what's progressing, if you look at the Yeti figure and you know what base it is, then that means that if they were going to do another Yeti figure, it would have that base. There's been a lot of work on that, which I can't say exactly what's going on there, but it's exciting and cool, and it's it's a different scale than what we normally do. It's not an O-ring figure, so it's pretty badass. So we've been working on that. Last time we talked about me working on the stiletto. So I've dug up some stuff, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. What we're looking at for how this classified version of the stiletto is going to turn out. What kind of things we're going to keep and what we're not going to keep, what we're trying to improve. The design is fun. It's not real practical, but if you thought about it, like I said, we'll talk about it and I'll explain kind of my thoughts on some things on it and what we will change or add as an add-on for our kit, to make it look a little different. So that's been going on. Obviously, still working on sci-fi V1 stuff, but that's kind of been what I've been doing. And as you know, I'm working on I've been working a contact to get a new job, and that is if that works out, that'll be a move out of state. But if it works out, that is something that someplace I've wanted to live. I've worked there before for this company, and it would be really nice if I could do that. So in that, I've been like doing a ton of like resorting. As you were there during the last 24 hours of the last move, and that was just total chaos.
Yeah.
just trying to get things in boxes or things in trash bags, whatever we were doing, and it was all nuts. So I've been trying to go through kind of to rearrange my boxes. I'm going to keep some here at your grandma's house until I figure out where they're going to go. But I want to get everything kind of sorted and separated. Like, this is 12-inch stuff. This is old Star Wars stuff. This is blah blah blah. And just have it in lines and in kind of rows in that basement storage area. So I've been doing a lot of that, and that ends up like it's crazy because I'll like do something that seems pretty simple, like I'll find something and then it's missing a part, and I know that part is somewhere, and I'll end up just wasting hours searching for that part. And then I just have more stuff to sort because I pulled other stuff out to resort and put back, and it's crazy. But that's what I've been doing that, and like I say, this design work on this new stuff for call sign longboat and grindstone. It's not always a Skeletron isn't our only partner. I mean, it is our main partner, but we're working on some stuff that isn't under those brands that have a different funding situation. So we did get some new information from the factory. I'm not sure how much that's going to help or hurt, but it's kind of forced Troy and I to look at a way to not get in this situation ever again. Where if we have a product and we say it's going to take this long, we need to have, basically a redundancy plan, something there. Most people are like, well, why didn't you do that 2 years ago? There were a lot of it's not political in the way that we talk about politics, because that's crazy, but more of a
not geopolitics, just
more of a
corporate politics more closely.
Friendship politics, where there are people that
a lot of false assurances were made, I feel.
Yeah, and I don't think that anyone was being ill-intentioned.
No, I don't think it was done on purpose at all. I think they believed. I think they believed.
But there's a lot to it, but when you see several of the people that had successful Kickstarters after us are already bringing product, it's extremely frustrating. So if we survive this as a company, then it's our responsibility to put redundancies in place and to make sure that we're backed up, and that we, you don't, and I learned this from years in research and development, sourcing, procurement, manufacturing. Very rarely do you let the supplier or contractor tell you how it's going to be. There are things, there are weather, there's the mail, there's things like that are outside of what either one of you can control. But the things that you can control, once you make that deal, it's up to each other to honor their side of the deal, friend or not. Even in a purely professional environment, in those projects as a project manager, my job was to hold people accountable that weren't meeting demands. And not all those demands were timelines, but it may have been a quality assurance level, things like that. So for me, it's very obvious that, if you were going to run a project, you would have somebody, or even if it was you or somebody on your team, that was just keeping track of timelines and keeping track of those things and all the different communications and stuff like that, all that come into one place that everyone can see and everyone can participate in. So if the person that has partnered with us to make a new grindstone toy product, they could easily go to a web page and see where we are on the project. And I think that kind of openness is very necessary, and everyone should ask for that. I mean, whether you're just making something small or you're making something pretty intricate, So that's,
Like I said,
challenging.
contingency plans are important.
Yeah, it's a challenge, and that's part of.
And Joseph says he finally got the Red Shadows Geyer Wolf, and it's one of the best figures I have owned. It called me to my youngling days. Bravo, bravo, good sir. They
That's
did a
awesome.
good job. Both scales of that figure, I think, are fucking awesome.
Yeah, it is a great figure.
Sometimes
Sometimes it does tutor, but sometimes it's so far out of that person who thinks they're in charge of this side. You learn over time that they're really just barely holding on to all the chaos going on on their team.
Yeah.
So it's not ill will towards them. It's just things get out of control, and they can't control it. The guy that makes this piece, he's gone and done his own thing and told us it's going to be 2 months before he can get back on it. Or this over here happened and they had a mudslide and nobody can get to their, heavy equipment to finish this part of the job. It's just a whole lot of that. And it is the job of the project manager to make sure those things are happening and communicate when they don't. But when they don't even communicate when they don't, that becomes a problem.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you as the customer have no way to.
Brad Davenport's here this morning. Hello, Brad. Good morning, sir. Good morning, fellers. Hope you are keeping warm. Well, for the most part,
much nicer today than it was yesterday.
Yesterday was brutal. My God. Brad will be joining us this Friday on Figure It Out.
Awesome. What are you guys talking about?
Concerts that our top 5 concerts.
Sweet.
I'm sure Zach and you will have some overlap that you didn't know about. probably at Sandstone a couple of the same times. Morning Crash. Had a mudslides, they give me headaches. I used to love mudslides back in the 90s. That was your jam.
That was my jam. That was my preferred alcoholic drink until I discovered
pineapple rum.
Well, yeah, I did do rum for a while.
Yeah, that leads to stealing sharks and just all kinds of nonsense.
It does.
Chad Zombie Fingers dead. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yeah, so we got some progress on the grindstone side of things, that's great. Progress on that's fantastic. Hopefully soon we get to see some progress. That would be good in the
we are
emails.
Pushing really hard to get some solid info by the end of the month for our update.
Nice.
The other stuff that's being worked on will get worked out and announced in other ways. So.
Now they're in Chinese New Year, right? They're on their month break.
It's coming up.
It's got a. I know that's.
It is coming up.
I know that's early first, or I guess mid first quarter. I guess.
Yeah, it's usually most of the month of February they're offline. It seems like, because that's been in the past. That's been, well, we're hoping to have them to you by then.
Right.
That was the last 2 years. So.
Right.
This year we didn't even promise that.
Smart. Suka's in the house. Good morning, sir. Woohoo. Finally caught a screen. I appreciate you, bud. Good to see you.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I haven't had a lot going on here. Just been painting. Some Fresh Monkey Fiction Big Bad Workshop stuff I had to get done for them. Pretty cool. And then I've got another one of their projects immediately behind it that I need to get to, and then sprinkling in some commissions and stuff. Been fairly busy. I mean, it's been been pretty steady starting the year off, which is usually not the case, but
That's
happy
good.
happy for that to be the case this year. Yeah, nothing too crazy here. Listen, being staying steady. Painting heads in between stuff, I think.
Yes. Yes. Hold on to your dusties.
Yeah.
And I don't know when we talked about the stiletto. I mean, that is also the Starfighter, so the Sci-Fi V2 kit works as a pilot for that. But if you build it as a stiletto or an Iron Grenadier stiletto, you're going to need an Astro Viper.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to build an Astro Viper kit, and it's going to be based on the movie Snake Eyes figure. That's a figure that's still easily available. It's not too expensive. It's not too bad. So it's not going to be totally accurate to the original figure. You guys, one of the main things I'm using is this one, Volume 3 of the Creating G.I. Joe. Star Viper's right there on the back, little Dave Dorman art.
That's cool.
The figure character was originally drawn up by Bart Sears, and this was his sketch of it.
Crazy.
And you see Dorman's art on the other side. This is Bart's. So we're going to go very, very much like the two concept renderings. In this book, it shows a lot of the breakdowns of how the stiletto was made. This is really cool. Some of his original side views of it, pretty neat. But one thing that I found really interesting is this one here. How I'm trying to get what you see on the camera. See how the engine is covered?
Yeah.
So I think we'll have like pop-on panels where you could do that style. This was Dave's original styrene model over here. And of course, Mikey and I, and anyone that's ever been to these are very, very familiar with these pieces.
Yeah, no kidding.
So those are so when you guys are thinking about that, the ones we used at that very first designer workshop, those were Dave's original mold. So pretty cool. I do have a few pieces of that. And over time, studying this thing this last week and figuring out how to do it, classify it up a little bit. I have an appreciation for it, and there's a lot of design cues on it. I'm not sure. I want to talk to Dave about it, but I'm curious if they did different colorways of it. When you look at the colors on the Star Viper or Astro Viper, Star Viper, right?
Star Viper.
Yeah, when you look at his colorway, he looks like an Iron Grenadier.
The figure that comes out looks like an Iron Grenadier. He's black,
that's what I'm saying. Like he's black, gold, and red. He looks like he should be. And this plane, I've seen a lot of people do customs of the Starfighter and Stiletto, and it looks so good in black. Like, think about it, but these lines up here in the front very much tie in with the Raven.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you see on the surfaces, there's a little bit of that. So in black, it looks like it could easily be the drone for the Night Raven. I mean, it's just really, I don't know. I think it's a cool design. It's a little, it is a little weird, and it's hard to like explain in any reality. But if you thought about it, the joke is that it was designed, like a 50s type starship where it would land on its tail because you can store it like that and it can launch like that. But since we didn't really get deep into the mythos of Star Brigade, as far as they had ideas for bases and different things, but I kind of imagine this thing getting launched off of a hand, like a claw that drops it.
Oh, okay.
or that it fires out of tubes and the pilot's just
I
going
always
to
thought tubes. That was always what I like a rocket. That was always what I thought.
Yeah. So when you think about it like that, like it's just an interceptor designed to protect a base or whatever, you know. So that's kind of part of it, but we're just going to lean into the fun of it. I'm going to do some alternate cannons for the front, for the nose, some different things up there. But starting on it now, we should have everything ready for the shows in June. Should not be an issue at all.
Good.
The nice thing about it, the inspiration board for it is all stuff that already exists. This isn't like I'm trying to come up with something totally different than anything that's ever existed. This is very much a piece of hardware that I want it to look like the silhouette of it to look like the OG.
Right.
The first thing that I will probably, even though I still have the drawings. I'm using the blueprints for the drawings. I'm tracing over them to make sure I get the dimensional qualities right. But I'm going to probably rough in a cockpit that will hold a figure and make sure all that works, and then design everything around that. So it's not like a matter of getting it all done and then be like, oh shit, I gotta increase every single component by 15%. Like,
right.
Let's just get it to where we know it fits we know it fits a figure, and then we'll go from there. So that's kind of going to be
That's pretty funny. I think Zakanin did something similar. I think he was telling Dave about how he didn't like the Defiant. He thought it was dumb or something, and he was like, "Oh, that's my design."
Yes, yeah, but Joseph, when you look at even in the 50s, when they were, when people were drawing and making things like, because that's how the moon landing, how the Apollo was supposed to land in a zero gravity environment. So that's kind of, it's always been there, and that's the fun thing about especially ridiculous science fiction images from the 50s is they were really looking at how that would work. And when the Mars One project first started, which was an international project of several companies, multiple countries, putting their best and brightest at work to come up with a Mars expedition, and that was one of the biggest things. There was landing the rocket, but we're so used to seeing a massive amount of gantry that the space shuttle takes, and to think that a rocket could just be sitting out on a flat spot and just be able to take off. We just weren't there yet, but science fiction people were. When Dave drew this thing out, that's what he was thinking, that it would be able to set up like that. So that's pretty cool. I always love seeing something, that is a old concept like slowly become reality. And you won't get all of that design, because back then they were thinking, they were wrapping tanks around, where there's going to be all these different tanks, and the body of the craft would be under these tanks, which is incredibly scary to think, like, your life would be surrounded by highly volatile fuel.
Yeah, you'd be vaporized
completely. But Armageddon gave me hope that a space shuttle could be properly armored to handle asteroid hits. Which is a toy I think would be pretty awesome, is the shuttle from Armageddon.
Yeah, that could be cool.
That's pretty cool. And what's really funny about it is I've had this conversation with people before. the version of the shuttle that they used in Armageddon, like if you look at the concept art, they were trying all kinds of different how that would look. And it's funny how much it looks like the Fisher Price Adventure People shuttle. Like, oh goodness, almost got it. 20 years before a movie was made.
That's pretty funny.
So yeah, so I've been really kind of thinking about that and how to make it modular to where we could quickly put it together solidly in a class and still be able to pull it back apart if we wanted to get it home and be like, oh, I think I'm going to paint this part this color and this part this color. You know, one of the concept art pieces had this bottom wing like going to full extension, going from here all the way back. This little fin. It looks pretty cool, but then it kind of takes away this thing almost looks like a missile, you know. And when you do that, then it looks like you're trying to do something else with it. So it is what it was intended to be, and that's pretty cool. So it's something I'd like to do up and present to Dave. But you know,
that would definitely be cool.
It would be fun if in the class where we build this thing, if he could come in.
That would be cool.
So I'm going to talk to Greg and Dave and see if we can arrange that. Just for him to pull away. He doesn't have to be there for the whole hour, just for 15 minutes. Talk about it a little bit, and then I think it'd be fun for everybody in the workshop to get to hear from the original creator and then get to build my newest iteration of it. I think that would be a really cool, fun way to do a workshop. Because when we do the one with the Hasbro designers, Frank or somebody gets up there and they do the how we used to do it speech and go through it. I think it would be really fun to hear Dave's real fun to hear Dave's like version of that and to talk about it a little bit. So
yeah, I agree. That would be really cool.
Brett, it's not. I know Dave would do it if I asked him. I just need to make sure that it doesn't interfere with something else that Greg or the guys at the DFW show have planned for whenever our time slot is.
Right.
I don't want to put a bunch of extra pressure on Dave either. He's got a lot going on that week as we do the workshop and we do the other stuff. He has a couple panels. I just want to make sure that I can get that in the time frame and have him come in. Dave's a really cool guy. One of the other guys may come join just for fun, but that's
see what we can swing.
Yeah, I think it's very possible. It's just stuff I've been brainstorming this last week while I thought about it.
I mean, just knowing Dave the little that I know him, like I have no doubt he would be all in on that. But
I think he would.
He has a schedule, we don't know what that is yet.
But yeah, I have some other stuff I want to talk to him about. I'm going to have to have a phone call with him sometime here in the next week or so.
Nice. Crusty old crow, what's up, sir? Good morning from the Great White North. Buried Autumn. Hi, Moo. Love you too.
Hello, Mom.
So that'd be cool for sure.
That would actually probably be pretty cool. I'm really surprised that didn't get stuck in, further in to more things. I know they had other plans. Yeah, they had other plans to repaint it for other things.
So. Very strange. Unusual vehicle for sure.
Yeah, it's a very unusual vehicle. So anyway, so that's kind of where we're at on the Starfighter Stiletto. Well, thanks, Brad. I think.
That's
So yeah, that's where that's at. I already did some stuff with the Star Viper, how that would fit the figure. So probably look at that a little bit more. It'd probably be one of those things I print in black again.
Yeah.
And, I'm debating. I'm going to print a couple out and see what they look like in ABS, or in ABS like material, and these will be resin printed.
Tony. Hello,
Oops, I just
sir.
clicked on that at the same time you did.
What's up, brother? Good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning.
Evil Duke, he's in the house. Good morning, sir. Oh, now he's walking it back.
Sorry, that's all right. I accept a crawdad on that. We love you, Brad.
Yeah, I think that movie Snake Eyes. I think that'll be a cool way to use a body that's very readily available. I think it'll look cool because it'll be like a classified up version. It's not a 1980s style. This is a new version of it. It's like I think that suit looks like the last version of RoboCop. I think that's what it looks like to me. So I think that'll look really badass. You just got to design the harness and the helmet to look like they belong with that suit. And I think that thing is going to look cool as hell.
Probably have a holster and knife set up or pocket set up on the thigh, just to take advantage of the pieces that are already there. Oh, Suka, dude, that's the most frustrating thing. Good God, man. And I have yet to find a slicer that will allow you to save settings an easy way. Like it wants to when you try to save it, it wants to overwrite your settings with whatever you just did, and you have something like, hey, this is my August 20th version, which is perfect. Don't move this, and then you change it because of resin, and it also changes the August 20th version too. When you pull it up, it's just the last resin settings you used. So once I save that file, I know that I can't mess with it, because I don't exactly remember what the settings were on it, but I know it printed perfectly, so I just save it. And it's frustrating. It just makes it more difficult. And right now I'm using the lychee slicer, and it's got some things I don't like about it, but I had a lot of trouble with other slicers, and that one seems to be the fastest.
Yeah, and it works really well. You like presets.
Yeah, like you go in there and they have preset resin settings, and lychee, like they have like this entire forum out there where people suggest settings and you can use them, but you can't pull those settings into a slice you've already started. You basically have to go hand copy it over, save that slice file. But if you try to open that slice file again, like 2 months later, after you've adjusted to a different type of resin or a different machine, then it fucks everything back up to whatever you just did. It doesn't literally open the old file that you had. It opens up the model and how you supported it and all that, the slices, but it doesn't open up the resin settings. You have to reset those every time. It's something I've complained about a bunch to them, but they seem more worried about making fancy AI cut scenes while you're waiting for the 20 seconds to where you can make a free print.
AI cutscenes are dope.
They never work, Suka, ever. Like the Max has a resin heater, but it only does the temperature of the resin. So if the room is a little cool, even though the build plate goes up and down, the build plate still might be too cold to hold the resin. Some resins, it doesn't matter. Some resins can print regardless of, I mean, obviously you can't get 50 degrees in the room, but they will stick to the plate. And then other resins just will not stick to the plate unless it's a certain temperature. So I use heat lamps and things like that with it open. I'll leave it open for about 10 minutes before I print, and then hit it with the infrared gun, make sure everything is up to temp, and then run the print. But almost every time, I just have to accept that my first print, after it's been setting for more than 2 weeks, is going to fail. Whether it's residue on the plate, or clean plates, and it seems like the first print is always a dud.
That's bullshit. That's what I say.
It is, and I am of the mind when I'm doing a print, like I want to put, like if I do a print for Mikey for heads, right? Like I'll put like 3 of every head on there and then run it. But if any one of those heads has a slice failure that it didn't detect, it affects every layer of that slice. So I just lost 20 heads in a bunch of resin. So now I'm trying to just do them in little test batches of like 4 heads and make sure those 4 are all good, and then do 4 more. And then I'll put them all on a bed after they've been tested. Rifles are the same way. I'll download a file that says this is a print ready STL, and it's got holes all over it. Like it's just and I know you're getting a free file from somebody who only paid $4 for it. But
well, still, words have meaning.
Yeah, if you say it's print ready,
I should be able to print it immediately without having to find all the holes and seal all the holes. Like
like Mikey got a really good head for Murtaugh from Lethal Weapon, that Danny Glover head. It's a really nice print. It's a really nice sculpt.
It's a good head.
But it had a hole under his beard, so every time I would print it, the supports that I put there would just turn into one solid 2-millimeter wall that you couldn't break off without destroying the beard. So I had to go in, clean up the file, find the holes, fill the holes, and then it was fine. And it just fine. Yeah. It still means that, Brad. It's just different resin. Yes. Yeah, he also got a head that was, I think he paid some pretty good money for it. And they didn't put a neck hole in it. Well, they put a neck hole in it, but they covered it with a flat surface. So they cut the flat surface out to get to the neck hole. Come on, guys. Come on.
Dumb.
Well, and Joseph, don't worry. Don't worry about it. Right? Like, it's just like resin casting, right? There is an incredible amount of joy to making something. Yeah. But there's always going to be a pain in the ass. Like Mikey probably remembers when I first started doing sculpting and making molds and doing resin, and how that went from, just trying to make clay molds to literally buying the cheapest material and then finding out, oh, this is the best material. But sometimes you can't afford the best, so you just get used to using the middle thing that you could buy at Hobby Lobby, which is garbage resin. Alumilite is not good RTV silicone. And the resin's not very good either. But back then, I think what was the first thing I ever made was that little cell phone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like 1993 or 4. I don't know what year it was. I guess it's a little later than that.
It was after that, because we got the first one at one of those Illinois G.I. Joe shows.
Yeah, we went there and we got one that somebody made, and then I decided to make castings of it.
Yep.
And that was before you could go watch 20 different YouTube videos on casting.
No, you were learning from the sandbox then.
Yeah, people just saying something, and then I'd go to like Hobby Lobby, and they'd have a little booklet there on how to make a cast. But my ace in the hole there was that I had already started building molds, right, in fiberglass, so I understood how molds had to work. So then it was just a matter of scale and materials. I had the knowledge of how it had to work. Now scale it down. What materials am I going to use to do this? But just don't let it discourage you. It is, just don't think it's going to be like a piece of cake.
Yeah.
And always remember, and this Mikey and I've talked about this before, is always remember that you can 3D print anything that you have a file for. Somebody has to make the file. Somebody has to, whether you find it online or you ask somebody has to make it. And then you can print as many as you want. Once it's made, you have a model and you can do whatever you want with it. But people seem to really forget that it has to be modeled first and then turned into 3D. So, but don't let it discourage you. Just be prepared, like Suka says here, SLA. Patience and a learning curve. What I wouldn't recommend is trying to buy 2 or 3 different machines and trying to learn them all at once. Like pick a machine, learn how to use it, use the message boards. There's plenty of support out there on Reddit. As crazy as Reddit is, Reddit has some really good articles and things about printing and even specific machines. So you can really get in there. Yeah, FDM is very much almost like just learning a different way of using a router. Because that's all. It's what it is. It's a head that moves just like a router head on a 5-axis router. Same kind of deal. Not that doesn't take skill, but it's just a different skill level. And FDM isn't like toxic. Yep. Yeah, it's not so bad when you're doing heads, but when you're doing parts that you're gonna, like if you buy a resin that said it's ABS like they're not expecting you to over cure the shit out of it, because if you over cure it, you are going to turn it into not ABS like at all.
Right.
And that's really hard too. Like I have a homemade curing station, and it's fine. But I sometimes mess up my cure times just because I forgot it's on there or whatever. So dealing with something like the Starfighter, I'll set a timer on there and make sure that everything is cured within the correct time. Also, remember when you're curing, just because you hollow out a part doesn't mean it's never going to leak on the inside. You got to figure out a way to make sure that all the hollows get cured too. Which isn't that hard. A lot of times you just buy a LED strip light and put it down in there and let it turn on the inside, and it catches most of it. But that's what y'all to think about. Like if you're doing a statue and you're 3D printing a statue and you just make it solid resin, like people will do that. There's a chance that someday along the line that will start weeping and coming apart. So there's a lot of little things to it, but just making guns and making stuff like that's just go with it, experiment, prepare to spend some money on, you can use whatever resin comes with the machine. You can use the cheapest one possible to learn how all the layering and all that works and the supports and all that. Yeah. But when you get ready, go buy you some nice resin, some good resin, the newest version. If you've got a 16K printer, try to find you at least an 8K resin to print really nice parts. Just play with it. Like I said, read the forums, learn from it, and just expect that sometimes you're going to have to adjust your settings just to get it to stick to the damn plate.
Yeah.
And keep in mind that if you do, certain manufacturers have run into some quality issues. Just keep that in mind. You may have to sand down a build plate to make it level. I've had to do that on mine, on my Anycubic. You take a $700 printer, they can make a flat build plate. They can't.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. Right now, Suka, what I'm doing with the Anycubic parts is I put them in a IPA bath just for a little bit, like an hour at the most. Swish them around, switch them to a clean alcohol, and then dump them out on a towel to just a puppy pad just to dry out. And that seems to give me an almost as much. Now, if I do something with a lot of detail, I'll use one of those things that girls use to do exfoliating on their face with the little brush that goes around, really soft brush. I'll just use that in the IPA and clean every part individually. But I found that double shot of IPA, soak it for a little bit, swish it around, then go to the other. That seems to work really well, and I don't know why. It doesn't work that well on large parts that are over like 4 inches, like a nice wide piece, like a base or something. It doesn't work very good for that. But on heads and guns, it works really well. Usually on the Astro suit, I'll do the shoulder or the chest and the helmet ring and the boots. I will use the scrub thing on them regardless, just because I like showing all the detail that we have in those parts. So
yeah.
Yeah, get it out, man. Jump in. Just find you a place where you lay it. I would now, doing it all over again, I would buy me one of those nice 3-foot silicone mats from Temu and just lay that out on a countertop with the printer on it and just try to do everything right in that area. I do a lot, as Mikey knows, I do a lot of like just making stuff up. So like I have shelves and tables that are made out of closet folding doors that I bought at Habitat for Humanity. Like, you can get those doors sometimes on sale for $5, and it's two folds, and you just take the hinges and the lock mechanisms out, and that's my shelf. I just buy some decent brackets at like Menards or something to put them on. But even my tabletops, I will lay one of those $5 doors down on top of it, and then I don't worry about it if it gets some resin on it. But it really, the silicone makes it better if you spill, and keeps it kind of contained a little better. And remember that if you're working in a room and you have LED lights in that room, don't leave your IPA out, because it will cure all the resin particles inside that IPA. And like, I use right now, what I'm using to clean is those pickle containers. It's like a plastic jug with a snap-on lid, but inside is a tray. And it's for pickles, so you can pull it out of the tray and pull a pickle out without getting having to use a fork or whatever. But that's what I've been using. They're made out of more of a PET type material, so the alcohol doesn't dissolve it or mess with it at all. It's pretty chemical resistant, and I just use those, and they're cheap. I think you can buy like 4 of them for $10 or $12, and for small parts. Obviously, bigger things, if you got a curing station, or you go and do all that. But I don't. I try to do all that way. Even though the curing machines that are alcohol with the lights, that seems pretty cool. But yeah, I got one of those too. That's pretty fun, isn't it?
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's basically what I did. Was I took one of those Christmas ornament, or at Christmas they come out with those clear bins that have the folding door on it. It's not a very good seal, but it's for lights and stuff to go inside. I took that apart, lined it with chrome foil stuff, like for stainless looking kitchen countertops or whatever. The Asian countries seem to think everybody wants to chrome everything. They're probably right. Anyway, it's contact paper. I line the inside of that with that, and then buy those UV light ropes, and just, they have adhesive on them, self-adhesive, and just go around the inside of that, all the way around it, whatever you can do with 20 feet of it. And then I let that hang out the side, and because those baskets have like a little handles on them, those allow me to have the turn on the switch off outside of it. And then I put that over an 8-inch rotating platform. sometimes I get fancy and put foil on the platform, but lately I've been doing them on paper plates that are about the same size as the platform, and that way I can lay all my parts out on like 3 deep paper plates so it doesn't flex, and then I can just switch out one tray for the next, pull it out, put the other one on for 15 minutes, and be flipping all the other parts over, and just kind of makes a little assembly line. But
it's a good setup.
yeah, I've heard that Hendo, that the denatured alcohol does a pretty good job. Yeah, I know. It gets everywhere. Like when I bought the Max, I went ahead and just bought an LCD screen for it because I knew it was going to go out. And they put that thin piece of plastic on it. It's almost like it's not cellophane. It's almost like a soft plastic. And then that peels. And next thing you know, the LCD screen's going crazy and it won't even, react to you pressing a button on it. It's ridiculous. Like you know you're making a machine where the LCD screen is literally under a vat of conductive material. I know it looks cool and it looks compact, but it would make much more sense to run those wires to the outside and just have a flip out screen that comes out like here's your wall of your printer, here's the printer, and the flip out screen comes out here, just flips out,
But then you wouldn't make money on LCD screens.
Well, that's true. Or lazy people like me that get tired of changing film and just wait till the film's really bad and just buy a new tray. Like I don't like to clean regular resin out to run clear because that resin is so fluid, so vicious that it will just, even though you think it's clean, you literally, to get it completely clean, need to take the film off, the 500 screws that take that off, and clean that all off and put it back together. I'll just buy a tray and use that tray just for clear parts. Who? I have done that, especially on the older ones, the second gen ones, that had when they were first experimenting with the screen types and changing the lighting. But I still love that Pro Max. It's still a great printer. The Saturn 4 frustrates me a lot. And honestly, the things that really frustrate me the most, and I've talked with Mikey about this before too, is getting things to stick to the plate. Like on the Anycubics, you're talking 1/16 of an inch sink in the middle. Like, good God, man, that's 4 to 10 layers of resin.
Yeah,
I did that too. Same thing, man. And I felt like those protectors seem to, I don't know if they dissipate the light a little bit or they do something to it. I'm not sure. I know a lot of people use them all the time, but yeah, I put one on, and third or fourth print, that was on that Saturn. The third or fourth print got around that into the screen tape. I ended up having to clean the whole thing out. It wasn't a lot, but it was enough that it messed up my button screen.
that's crazy.
Just ran down the middle of it. Suka, what's your favorite resin to use? I don't use water soluble resins. I've thought about it. Well, that's funny you say that because it was a clear red that I was printing in that did that. But I am curious what you find that frozen resin I used some of that. I was really impressed with it. And also really, really not understanding why everything has to be a weird tint. Like, aren't we to the point where we can just make a nice bright red, a nice bright blue, and a nice bright yellow? What are we waiting on? What are we waiting on? Yeah, it feels number one. It doesn't feel like it's as crisp, and maybe that's just tactile. But I never really understood. I never felt confident in the cure, if that makes sense. Like, that's just from because I've done so much chemical handling over the years, of different kinds of chemicals and things like that. Sometimes it's just a gut feeling that I have when I, handle a material and just don't feel like it's right. But I am curious what anybody in here that's printing, what the last resin that they used that they thought was the best for detail, not for strength. It would. It would. Yeah, I get that. That resin one is pretty good stuff. Hey, Jerk's in the house.
What up, Jerk? Morning, buddy.
Yeah. Gotcha. Well, several of the companies right now have resins that you can buy, and they come with resin tinting things. And I know the problem is that, and this is true in paint, right? Is you start with a white base in paint. And then you have to tint. And red, that's why red tint number one, red is more expensive to manufacture than any other color. So it's going to take a lot of it to get a bright, bright red. But if you could do it in an oil-based paint, I would think you could do it in the resin. But most of the time when you dye the resin they want you to dye is translucent, and then you add a opaque white or something to it. And yeah, so you'd have to use dye that is specifically that will react to the chemical, or it will eventually, well, even when you mix a chemical thoroughly, there is a pretty good chance that over a few years it will molecularly separate because it's two different types of material. It'd be like having fiberglass resin that you were mixing up and you wanted it to be the color of the side of your house, so you just poured some paint in it and mixed all that up. Well, that paint isn't designed to be catalyzed, so it's two very different molecular structures trying to, you get it to look good and it'll go on looking great, but in 4 or 5 years it'll start separating at a molecular level and weeping out. So you just have to make sure that you use dye that is good with UV resins. And then you get into some real expense there because, you buy the dye and it's as much as the resin. And right. Because, like I said, certain color pigments take more work. And the same with, companies that make gel coat. That is a catalyzed material. The reds and bright blues are way more expensive than the grays and whites, burgundies. But when you want that brighter color, you really got to pay for it. And that's why, because when they go to their lab, they say, okay, the yellow, we're gonna have to take this yellow, red, and blue and make them all work with the exact same catalyst, the exact same, mix and all that. And that's why those things are so expensive. And to me, it would be nice if we had some of those brighter colors.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it'll always come out. I was reading a thread the other day where a guy had bought a 3D print statue and had it up on his shelf and it just started leaking out of the feet. Like it's just coming out of it everywhere, just the uncured resin.
That's crazy.
Because even if you put a drain hole, like say you have a statue that's this tall, right? And just say it's a model of a rocket. Think of that. And you just put some drain holes in it. That's fine. But by putting a drain hole tube in it, you have just created inside of that tube an entire tube of uncured open resin. So you have if you do that and don't have a way to cure the inside of that drain channel, then it will eventually start weeping through that drain channel and out onto your model or onto your stand or wherever you have it. You really got to watch that. Some resins are good with that and don't matter because you got it clean enough and it worked out. But it's just. It is a learning curve. But and the thing is, for anybody that is just getting into it, you have a lot of people like just in our groups, right? Just in this family of channels, right? That all like overlap and do things together. You got a lot of people in those groups that already have gone through some of that and can give you some advice. Right. Sometimes the advice might be like, just don't try it until it's ready. The technology will catch up. I know it will because I can remember years ago when we bought our first was it DPL machine where I worked, and we had a 15 by 15 cube bed. And we're talking about dental work technology back then, but they only had one real type of resin, and it was only available in one color, and it was just I knew like in 10 years this is going to be such a different environment. And now it's been 10 years, and it is a totally different. I never thought that people could just have a couple in their basement or in their garage and just printing stuff out. I never thought that would happen, especially when the first FDM machines came out, and it required like hours of a person that understands how electrical things work and how a router works, and they're building them by hand. And just come a long way. So the technology will catch up. Because a lot of people believe that in the future, 3D printing will replace additive manufacturing in almost every way. And as soon as that cost gets down to that point where what they're printing out looks as good as what they're selling on the shelves, that will happen. You see it a lot in car parts, engine parts, and things that, especially like tubes for ram air boxes, things like that. A person needs it to get around something they added somewhere else, and they holler at somebody, and they just put a dent in the 3D file and print it, send it to you, and now you have one that fits perfectly under your hood. That is going to be like next level stuff. The F43. All right. It's got a little flex to it, is what I'm guessing. So it doesn't snap when you put any pressure on it. Not yet. Not yet, Machine Man. But if you're doing something like that, like I was talking about those LED strips, you can also use those weird looking little tea lights. If your hole is big enough, you just get LED tea lights and just stuff them in that hole and let them cure out. When I first started working at Bass Pro, when we had the design lab, when we put it together, like we couldn't throw away the empty resin containers, right? So we just took a really narrow tube, white tube, and shoved LED in it and just dropped that into the canisters and let that cure the inside of it. And then we could throw it away in the trash. So take that same idea. That was a half gallon, 2-liter jug. Now miniaturize that down to where you're putting weep holes in something. Just cure out the weep holes the same way. It'll be all right. Yep. Awesome. Yeah, there's a guy down where I used to live, and that's what he would put it on Facebook Marketplace all the time. He would scan you like an entire, like you had a Chevy truck, you wanted to put a different grill in it, he would scan it for you and then let you have the file if you wanted to send it to somebody. He would do them, but if he was expensive, but if you were savvy at all, you could take that and just make you a new piece. If you think about like how badass would it be to have your own like kit that you designed for your Supra, a body kit. You had the scan for how it needed to fit on the body, and then you're just moving digital clay around until you find something that looks really cool. And I totally understand. Yeah.
Like dash pieces.
Oh yeah,
Like
perfectly.
race car guys for years, they just had like metal they shaped over. Like if you could just scan it and just be like, boom, there's your new gauge cluster that has
Yeah,
big tack
you
pot.
could. Yeah, you could literally put 3M tape on it and put it exactly, just be a nice smooth thing that looked like it was supposed to be there.
Or as a guy who owned a second gen Ram, and the dashes are made of paper mache.
Yes, they
Nice,
are.
be nice to know.
Yeah, for sure. I will be right back, Mikey.
Okay. Well, hey everybody. What have I gotten recently? I'll show you some comic books I picked up yesterday. Got some X Factor books yesterday. I got an issue 19. Think about that. First cover of the Four Horsemen. That was pretty good. Snag that up. 25. Apocalypse taking care of X Factor with Death and the other horsemen behind it. Pretty cool. And then issue 60. Not a big fan of the art, but Psych and Havoc going at it. I thought that was freaking cool. And then one thing I was really excited about, somebody must have traded this one in, but Giant Size X-Men, this book that's a tribute to the original book. So it's the original book like 5 different ways, like 5 different comic book artists did it panel for panel. It's really cool. It's a book that I've actually wanted for a while, but I'd never seen it and just never ordered it. But it's really cool. And then of course me, I love the Alex Ross art. And so different guys did covers, different guys did interiors. It's all kinds of different art. It's a really cool book. And then the back of it has like, this guy did some of the work, and then there's like a blurb about like how that book inspired him, and it's pretty awesome. And then in the back, it's got like bigger panels, and back here's like different X-Men that they were like messing with, like bringing back, because this X-Men annual. This is like Nightcrawler, Colossus, Wolverine, Cyclops. It's that team. So these are like the characters that didn't make the cut, which is pretty cool. I had no idea. Different. Like this is what would become Storm. There's just different ways to do it, and now you see some of the names and stuff, and they've obviously reused it, like Hellion, Vixen, Spitfire. Like this one's pretty cool. Black Cat. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I love this book, so super excited to find that. Yeah, my guy Johnny, Root Squad Entertainment, hooked hooked me up. So Jimmy Purvis, what's up, buddy? Finally shipped my pile of loot and got my Monster Force guys. Pretty cool. Nice. I'm a fan. I'm a fan for sure. Mm, hmm. Awesome. Awesome. Hey, thanks, buddy. I think so. I think they were good pickups. Good pickups. Morning, Jim. Uh, yeah, I got. What else did I get yesterday? Well, I got my sci-fi finally came in. My sci-fi that I pre-ordered from him. Obviously, I've picked up two from Target in the meantime. So I got another one of those, and oh, hey, Pop. And then I got this Sam Jackson for $5. So I picked him up. Another suited body, good for pictures and whatnot. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That was pretty much my pickups this week. They were all yesterday at the comic shop. But you know, yeah, the sci-fi figure is fantastic. Fantastic. I was thinking about a different way to paint him, make like different, and I was thinking like something like maybe like black and gold or something. I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna do something with it. I think one day, maybe. I don't know. Should get it taken care of. Good.
Yep. Yeah. So, but don't be discouraged. But that's true with anything, right? I mean, you watch Mikey paint all the time. Don't be discouraged. I like that idea.
Hmm. Could be cool.
Have you thought about Tiger Force?
No, I haven't.
I think it'd be cool to do a Mars Force that's all that red and gray camo, red, orange, gray.
Yeah, that could be cool. Hmm.
It's terrible, man.
It's a real bitch.
Yeah, Suka, that would be all right too. Do Night Force with orange, the big red orange gun.
I mean, Night Force is essentially what V2 is. You just change the yellow to orange, and it's pretty much done.
Yeah, yeah, it really would
Or
be.
green, or green. Use the green instead of yellow.
Well, Suka, we already have a Star Brigade sci-fi. You can use that hideous yellow and gray.
Yeah. What do you? Sci-fi is not Ozone. We don't need 4 versions of him. Nice. Nice.
It's surprising what you could do with one 7-foot table. Say that because I was talking about doors. Like I go to Habitat for Humanity and buy a closet door, and then I could just make a frame out of 1x4 plywood. and set it up at a height. I'm not going to work on it like a workbench. That's for my printers or spray painting or whatever, the fan and all that. So I just lay that door on top of it, and that's my workspace. And I can move it around wherever I need it to be. Right now, I bought a couple of tables there that are really good for my printers, and that's what I'm using now. But starting out, it was on. I had it on two of those. Those the metal shelves you buy. For a shop that are like 3 feet tall and have just like two levels, but you can set the level any level you want. And I just had two of those side to side and put a piece of linoleum countertop on top of it that I had laying around, and that was only like 3.5 feet, and I used that for the first probably 6 months that I started resin printing, but a little longer, and then I can have it staged out to where I could also hot glue my pieces to stick it in, foam to paint. Yeah, I mean, why not? It's really, the design of it is both almost post-apocalyptic versus retro science fiction. It's just kind of a cool mix of different concepts. But you could do it in white with like gold pieces on it. Like I say, it lends itself really well to the stealth black color. That the red that they used it for, even the red, when you look at it, even the red and black fits the Iron Grenadier theme better than it does what Cobra was doing at that time. And it was the same year as the Iron Grenadier stuff, so it kind of makes me wonder if it, is when within that 2 year period they really went crazy on that stuff, and it really fits in well with that. So I always wonder if it wasn't maybe intended for that. But I think what we'll do as we go through, the next couple of months and like really narrowing down what we're going to do for the workshop, um, we'll probably have a few on hand, and you can pick between what color body you want to take and go from there. Well, that's what Mikey does.
For sure.
I still rattle can everything, so. But I still draw my original designs on notebook paper. So if I still had big cheap tablets, that's what I'd be drawing on.
Yep.
3-day weekend. Oh, it's holiday tomorrow, isn't it?
Not for me. Just a normal Monday for me.
I really love them because the designs are so outlandish but clever at the same time. Lots of hard angles. I just think that looks really cool. I do love them. When I sold almost all of my G.I. Joe vehicles, I kept those. Kept a few pieces here and there, but I kept the Iron Grenadier stuff because I do just love the way it looks. Except for the AGP pod. That pilot was originally supposed to be part of Cobra Law.
The nullifier?
Yeah.
That one?
Yeah, I don't know if the pod itself was supposed to be, but that pilot was supposed to be part of the.
It makes a lot of sense because he does not look like an Iron Grenadier. It's not even in the colors.
Yeah.
It's a good sculpt, though.
Yeah. It is. Well, me too, obviously, because I came from that generation. But there's a guy I watch on YouTube, and now I'm trying to think of his name. It slipped my mind, but he constantly does videos where he tests all the new paints and new coatings, and he does spray and non-spray, and he uses an airbrush for almost everything, and it just really seems like a good investment. It's what I'm at that point. Like, I'm old and curmudgeony and don't want to like learn something new, and that's from a guy that like was one of the first, in that first wave of people modifying computers and keeping up with technology forever. I went from sculpting in Play-Doh to actual sculpting material that real artists use, to Sculpey, to wax, and now I'll sculpt out of anything now. But let's see. Largo asked what. Oh man, I've been thinking about other stuff so much all week. I'm trying to think of the names of everything, but I really think that there's a couple of them that I think would fit in with the classified, styling really well. If they are going to do a despoiler, then I would hope that at some point they would really look at doing the vehicle that sets on. And my brain's not working right now, but that
the Dominator.
Is it the Dominator?
I thought so.
The track vehicle. That the despoiler sets where the turret is on top. Is that a demon?
Oh, the demon. Yeah, the demon. Yeah, the Dominator is the one that's
that would be cool.
And a tank.
The Dominator is, yeah. But I think, but saying that though, like I would love to see the demon, but the Dominator seems like something that would be really cool to update into the classified style, especially when you see a lot of the stuff they've done with the Transformers G.I. Joe stuff. Like if you took that tech to where it didn't look so skeletal and it actually looked like something that would fold up into a helicopter, into a tank. Like I think it would be really cool to hit that thing and just totally like still have the same silhouette and the same look, but update it. I would love to see more Iron Grenadier stuff. Even that hideous thing that Darklon drove.
Oh, that thing is dumb.
Yeah, I agree. Especially, when it's heavily hinted that he was working with Mars. So it always surprised me that when they went kind of crazy with the Iron Grenadiers in the 2000s for the convention sets, like, why not throw scrap iron in some of that? Give him a new look with black and gold and red.
Yeah, why the fuck would you want metalhead if you can get scrap iron?
Right. Okay, I'll check it out. I'll look at it. Yeah. That's there's pretty good content there. There's a lot of cool stuff he does there. Yeah, I would just like to see the classified team take it on, try to do something new and a little different. To me, the Hiss is like a really good example of them taking original design intent, mixing it with a little extra, and then making a really good vehicle.
Yeah.
The Dragonfly is great, but it's based on a real world vehicle, so it's just like get it in between those two, make it look a little more realistic to the scale. The Hiss is actually a really good, really nice vehicle. I always feel like that vehicle is worth the money even aftermarket. Like that's a really cool vehicle. So if that same team like worked on one of the Iron Grenadier vehicles. I would be really curious to see what they come up with. Don't all striker me. Give me the vehicle. Well, funny you ask. Mikey probably remembers this, but I was one of the guys that waited in line to get the 4-inch scale Arctic Hiss. I mean, it was a show exclusive. I loved that version of it, so I'm actually excited about it. But you know, a lot of my collecting is emotion based or nostalgia based because certain vehicles or toys give me the feels. So I remember waiting in line at that convention and how much fun it was because it was the first real convention that after the DeSimone shows, you know, in the 80s, 90s, I mean, after those shows, that was the first big show I went to. And I stood in line and I got several of the Hasbro exclusives. It was exciting. It's exciting to stand in line and actually get what you stood in line for, and they don't sell out halfway through. So that was that Arctic Hiss. I thought that was a really cool vehicle in the anniversary line. So yeah, I'm good with it. And that's actually a legit repaint and re-equip of a vehicle, which I always feel like everybody's like repaints are lazy. Yeah, they kind of are. But if you do a repaint and then you also add new components to it, that's money right there, because then it just doesn't look like an Andy Warhol Campbell soup can on your shelf. It's actually a slightly different version of the vehicle, which is very realistic when you think about the military, especially the German army in World War II. No, I'm not going to say the N words, and that's not part of this. I'm not talking about the ideology. I'm talking about the military aspect of it. Mm-hmm. The different versions of the Panther tank or the Tiger for different theaters. You know, additional water supply for desert. You know, real now camouflage netting seems pretty normal, but you know, in World War II that wasn't normal.
I mean, they even had that clay shit that they stuck to it that was supposed to demagnetize them. I mean, they were doing some pretty rad shit. I mean, it ended up being like totally fucking worthless because the Allies didn't use magnetic mines. But yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, that's the thing. Like, you're in a theater, you're in the you're on the brink of your machine that you put in place to just pump out tanks, right? You're starting to run out of materials. You're starting to realize that the other militaries of the world are onto you and have figured out that, okay, the Germans think they can win by just pumping out thousands of tanks. We need to have a way to make our vehicles be able to go one of ours versus 10 of theirs. The Russians were doing it. The Americans were doing it. And the Americans were doing it with the help of the Allies. So not all the tanks that were on the field were necessarily American tanks. But when you look at all the difference of like the Patton tank in World War II, like lots of iterations of that. And you think about this, you would also have guys out there, entire army divisions that would set their vehicles up differently amongst them. It was almost like when you look at pictures from World War II of these different divisions and subdivisions that had armor, like they almost look like when you look at contractors now, you know, personal contractors now, like I'm using the loadout that I'm comfortable with. And those guys would be like, you know, these 50 cals suck when you're trying to do this and this, and they'd like mount double 30s on it, or you know, all these other things that they were doing. And you may only see one in one picture. It doesn't mean the military like approved that, or that the military like this is an official U.S. weapon. No, they're out there modifying it with the best materials and equipment they could find. You know, the gunners would try to convince everybody we're already carrying 30 caliber ammo for the anti-personnel cannon in the front next to the driver. So why not just carry only 30 cal in the whole tank, mount 230s on top, have the same basic destructive power as Mongoose, but you're carrying ammo just for that one weapon system in two different places. But yeah, so I always think that, like the Arctic Hiss is a Hiss, but it's got the Stinger style missile launcher on it. That's cool. I had a discussion the other day about how silly it was that you'd have a vehicle like the Stinger that just has missiles on it. And my answer to him was, well, it makes sense if you have like say you have 6 fast attack vehicles. They're just supposed to go in there and strike and get out, not lay down suppressive fire, not lay down any other machine gun type. They're just in there, drive in super fast, launch 4 missiles, get the hell out and go reload and come back. And you do that on a rotation, almost like muskets. When people figured out that if we line everybody up in 4 to 6 rows, first row fires, comes to the back, starts to reload, second row fires, starts to come back. Then you have a constant barrage of, 50 caliber lead balls flying into the other team. It works the same way. You just replenishable firepower. The machine man was asking about the Snowcat. They could do different things. Son of GTO says here, like, Tiger Force, fine. I don't need everything in Tiger Force. It's a good gimmick to use the molds, but that jungle green one they did with the orange missiles, that's a good looking one. When Mikey was a kid, I painted one green for us to use. Also,
in the 50th stuff, that was how they did the Havoc too. Was a green Snowcat.
Yeah, it was just green. That's what it was called. It wasn't called the Snowcat. It was the Havoc. Yeah. So. Oh, absolutely. And you just don't see that stuff because most of the pictures that were taken, Finland didn't have a media corps out there sending pictures back all the time. So oh yeah, the Kugelwagen is a really cool design. And it could be, you could use it for anything. If you wanted to do if you wanted to have it as a fast attack vehicle, you wanted to have it to get a squad somewhere fast, just as a basic unload, reload, support. The way it was built, you could armor it up pretty easy. Largo, you were asking about the RC vehicle. I don't know. I'm trying to think.
I definitely don't.
I can't really think of one. I do know that I can't remember who made it, but a few years ago they came out with that RC Vamp Mark II.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people were pulling that Vamp Mark II off of that crappy, Lexan style shell, and mounting the Vamp, whatever they called the Vamp in the 50th anniversary series. Those actually stripped down, like Hummer looking vehicle. Was that a Vamp 2?
I don't know. I don't remember.
I don't remember what they called it. But they took the desert colored version of that and mounted it on there, and it was a pretty easy mount. So I thought that was pretty cool. My thing with RC vehicles comes from, I was a kid that lost most of my Buck Rogers Starfighter pieces because I had a fishing line on it and tossed it in a pond, and all the missile, the nose tips, I got lost, and one of the wings came off. So when I would play with RC vehicles at all, I would just leave the guys out of them and play with them. So I never had to have everything fit. But I watched a YouTube video the other day where the guy was working on a Humvee it had like working chains and everything on it from the factory, and it held it held classified figures in there, but they looked a little cramped. And I think that was a 110 scale, but man, that was a really cool vehicle, really cool. It was a vamp too. Yeah, yeah, Largo. That's the one. Yeah, that is a vehicle I would love to see, just because that was a solid redesign. But I would love to see it. Oh, definitely. Like Finland had like a really nice little war chest there of good mines and people that uh, people that were really designing really good vehicles and weapon systems and things like that. The Finns had some really cool stuff. The Havoc 2 was a repaint of the Snowcat. We were talking about the Vamp 2 that was the four door, almost like a Humvee, but they called it a Vamp. It was part of the after Pursuit of Cobra line, and they repainted it a couple of times.
Yeah, it was almost like the hammer, almost.
Yeah, it was probably more of a grandchild of the Hammer than a Humvee, but the Hammer was an extreme version of the Humvee, which the Hammer was pretty cool for when it came out.
Hammer was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, on the last show we did, I showed Mikey earlier when I was going through boxes and stuff. I found my Starbird Avenger. I was pretty excited about it. This one, I had the Starbird out, but my Avenger still has the gun. I got to get some replacement engine or forward vents, but this is such a neat toy. It really is. I was telling Mikey, this is very 1970s with the stream of fire kicking on it. Technically, Smokey and the Bandit version. Oh God, doesn't it? Every time I have it, I hold. I didn't have the Avenger. I had the regular Starbird. I had that as a kid, and I had the Invader, the bad kind of the black version with a different back end on it. But it's just a cool vehicle. It was one of those things Milton Bradley pumped out. I had a version of it. I got it at a garage sale. It's not in this room because I had packed it up separate. It took me forever to get all the pieces to one. But I love it. I love it. I never had a complete one as a kid. It was something I got at a garage sale. It didn't even have the propellers, but I always used it as a crashed vehicle. And I had the green. I think it was green, and the one I have now is a white one.
Oh, that's cool. Mm. I don't know what you'd use for that. Like, I mean, nets
I would,
a big deal.
I would think about something like the DEA mutt.
Oh, they had the two missiles.
Yeah,
They
had the two missiles with the net between them.
See, I was thinking Dino Hunters. What's on top of the truck?
Oh yeah, that too.
Which is similar to like how they like capture like goats and deer when they do like the helicopter thing for stuff. You know?
Yeah, I just thought the if you had the two tubes with the launchers on them, you could almost mount that to where, on that framework that you have, the one that you got with the thing on top, like the net could be in there and just fire out a slot. There's probably a couple different ways you can do it. Because you also have the guns that fire the 4 stakes.
Yeah.
And they're coiled like this, and they fire when they come out, they spread out.
Yeah, something like that would be good.
Oh, yeah. Cousins. I say that because I ended up with my cousin's like Cylon Raider because it ended up in my bag when I took it home. He didn't even care, but you say that, I'm like, yeah, I did that one. Oh yeah, I could only play with it outside. It's got some really cool sounds. It just when you hear that like 40 times in a row, when you're the one pressing the button, and that's true of any like electronic toy, right? When you're the one pressing the button, it's not going to irritate the crap out of you, but everyone else like within hearing is like, oh, for God's sake, man, just land the fucking thing, just land it and shut up.
Exactly. What up, Mother Slug?
Welcome.
Well, that time in the morning we'll start wrapping her up.
Do what?
So that time in the morning we'll start wrapping it up.
Yes. So, I don't have anything coming up until our next couple of KUKs, which hopefully I will have some stuff. Right now, like I said early in the show, like I'm working on this job situation, and if I do that, then it's going to be another move and another change. It took me 6 months to get this set up behind me, and now I'm taking it back down to move it again. But that's part of it. This is a job that I've wanted to be in this location for a long time, and the job sounds really good. I have a lot of different skills in this industry, and this is a really good place for me to go and end up. So as that happens, I can share more. But also, as I said earlier in the show, I'm working on a lot of stuff for Grindstone Toy, which is Call Sign Longbow's parent company, which is still being Troy. It's just the way it's divided up, so that Grindstone can help other companies develop O-ring figures. And the hilarious part of that is it looks like the ones that we are working on with other people are probably going to get to retail before the original Call Sign Longbow figures. Frustrating, but I talked about that earlier in the show. Sometimes you just have to take things to start looking at everything, big picture. How can we get this back on track? 1,000 points of light coming together and all that shit. We are going to run some tests to see if we can get see what the actual manufacturability of this is with a company that we've just recently started talking to. They haven't done anything really big, and that's a small vehicle. We really were pushing to make it in the USA, but that is just not ready yet. Maybe we could do that someday. I hope we do. I'm very passionate about trying to get things made in the USA. But until some of the USA companies are willing to take that chance, we're gonna have to use some more traditional manufacturing methods in other countries. It sucks, but sometimes you just say, like, do we want product made or not? We're going to wait for the infrastructure to keep up, to catch up, or are we going to get it going and then eventually have a way to have everything ready to bring here when it's possible?
Right. We'll change over.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's kind of what my next week or two will look like. What you got going on this week, bud?
Let's see. Wednesday, Jam Custom Works presented by Two Silly Gooses. Tony and I'll have a good time. I'm gonna do the camo work on the leather neck upgrade figure for Johnny. That's the main thing. And if I get that done, I can probably seal it and give that to him. Friday, figure it out. 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Brad Davenport is joining Zakane and I. We're going to talk about our favorite, our top 5 concerts. So we'll talk about the bands, the venues. Who knows the level of shit hammeredness that followed? Who knows what else? That'll be a fun show. That'll be a fun show. And that's it this week. So
cool.
Light week. Plenty of time to do other things. Get through the list. Yeah, man, that's it. As always, we really appreciate you guys spending your Sunday morning with us. You could be doing anything, and you choose to do this. So that's pretty cool. Next week, we hope to have our next episode 2 weeks from now. See if we can get some stuff together. And
yeah, I'm hoping in the next episode I'll break down the turning that starfighter into a model, like we did with the spaceman kits early on. Like I said, this isn't as it'll take a lot of work, but it doesn't take as much time as developing the Astro suit, because the Astro suit did not exist in any scale. That was a brand new concept. So this is something that is basically getting my blueprint drawings done and then turning it into a 3D model and then going through all that. So that will be. I'm hoping that at that, and maybe even I will have printed out my test cockpit just to have it. Just to show you guys the scale, what it's going to look like, kind of.
That'd be cool.
So
that would be cool. All right. Well, guys, like I said, we appreciate you being here. Appreciate the engagement. Appreciate the hangout. It's been great. And till we see you again, you have a good one.
Thanks, everyone.
Game over, man. It's game over.
Eat my short.
Yourself. You shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
Flush that turd down the drain. Avenge me! Avenge me!
Thank you. Thank you.